Hi, I'm Tim Corley with Lissmac Corporation. We've traveled down to Harahan, Louisiana to hear firsthand from Laitram Machinery about how the SBM S2 1500 does in their production facility. We're specifically going to hear about how Lissmac service after the sale, how the machine has held up, and more specifically how it's helped them with their manufacturing.
The business growth for this company has come from this product.
That's great.
It's not, our internal production is also increasing, but this project alone has made us over $1 million each quarter since we've been doing it. Hundreds and hundreds of these plates with hundreds and hundreds of holes, and our belt sanding block consumption has only dropped about 2 months worth of time.
Okay.
So
maybe every 6 months you're changing?
Every 5 to 6 months, we're changing, and we usually like to kind of stay a little bit on top of it.
Sure.
We could get a little bit more out of our belts. We kind of got like a sweet spot where we know, okay, let's go ahead and change them. Let's get some fresh belts and move on. Really not much to it. We pretty much open the machine up every afternoon after the shift, vacuum out the dust trays in the bottom, try to keep the machine clean. Too much dust buildup can cause your parts that come out on the other end to have dust on them and stuff like that. So we keep the machine clean.
Would you say that takes you how long? 10 minutes?
If that.
10 minutes for clean
We usually
out.
stop about 10 minutes early each shift.
Okay.
Do a quick vacuum out, wipe up the outside. We use a dust mop, get the dust off of it. We grease the grease fittings.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then when required, but other than that there really is no maintenance.
Okay. How long does it take your guys to change out a set of belts? 2 on top, 2 on bottom?
So it takes about 25 minutes
Okay.
to change out the top and bottom belts. We actually bought a second set of belts and we preload it with blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So that when it's time to change the belts, we just put the new belts on with the blocks ready to go, and we have almost no downtime. Set the machine, we're right back up to it. So service after we've gotten Lissmac has been outstanding. We have multiple extremely expensive pieces of equipment in the shop. Hundreds of $1,000 press brakes, lasers, CNC machining centers, welding machines, everything. And we deal with their service department quite frequently on small things here and there. We've actually really never had that interaction with Lissmac as far as service calls, hey, we got the machine down. It's really been pretty much press the button and run parts since we've got it. The little bit of things that we've done contacting Lissmac after the fact, we bought the machine without a conveyor originally. And then we found that there would be a benefit to adding the conveyor. So we contacted Lissmac, spec'd it out. We got a great deal on it, and it was a great investment for our piece of equipment. So we made a great piece of equipment even better just by adding something like a little small conveyor. We can now operate the machine with 1 operator instead of 2. And anything that we've ever had to deal with Lissmac for, call them sales, we're just concerned about something, maybe a part, it's been seamless.
The future and kind of forecast with companies. And I remember speaking with Laitram about conveyors and talking about the need for them, and you guys went ahead and purchased without. What would you tell a company now that's looking at buying a machine? Is a conveyor worth it to you?
Right, so one thing that we've learned over the last few years of this rapid growth in this company is we've added multiple new pieces of equipment, and one of our biggest things that we found is when you're speccing out a piece of equipment, don't think about your process now. Think about where should my process be. So for us, adding the conveyor belt was, it was a no-brainer. We should have bought it from the very beginning. When purchasing a piece of equipment, if you're going to constrain yourself when you're already spending, a certain chunk of money, you're not going to spend a little bit extra to make your process that much better. That's really something that you need to look at, because something as simple as adding this little conveyor to the back end of the Lissmac has, doubled our production at that machine. So if you feel that there's any need for a conveyor at all, to me, you should have it.
You should have it.
The future of Laitram, the company, is growing rapid, and it's, we made a rapid growth and we're not stopping. Everything's going to keep going up from here. We just added another press brake. We're looking into adding another laser. So especially with adding more equipment that's going to make us more efficient and allow us to put more parts through, we're going to need to be able to keep up with that. We have an extremely high throughput at our laser. Our laser runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is something that we're not used to. And so now we've got all these plates, all these parts and everything. We feel that, that we're going to need another machine soon. Obviously, the first thing we did was call Lissmac and said, all right, here's what we got. This is the parts that we're doing. We sent some samples. We're ready to move on another machine because it's extremely important to us. There's not much justification into buying another machine that's already proven itself.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. We need more deburring capacity. We're going to add another machine. That's all there is to it. And hopefully, one day in this shop we have 5 lasers, 5 press brakes, and 5 Lissmacs.
Yeah, and you're also looking at adding a small parts machine that can handle small parts as 2" by 2" and do top and bottom in one pass too, correct?
Yes. So when we first got our new fast fiber laser, we had more parts than we knew what to do with. And we were just cutting parts and stacking them up on pallets, and these guys are having to still do their little bit of manual grinding and then pass them through the machine. So it kind of created a bottleneck. But once we added the conveyor and we got used to running the machine and kind of evened our flow out, our bottleneck got pushed back to the small parts and stuff that couldn't go into the Lissmac. Right now, before we had 2 large, loud, noisy, old, ancient tumblers that used to give us problems. It used to cause downtime. We'd have 100 parts in thousands of rocks, and we can't get them out now because the machine went down. We got to dig through, get them all out. You can only do so many at a time, and so now that we're putting so many parts through the Lissmac, and that's made our process so much easier, the small parts is now our bottleneck. And it doesn't matter if we add another 5 or 10. You can't get away from the 30 to 45 minute tumble process for these small parts, so we thought. But Lissmac's small machine will basically eliminate that bottleneck and put the small parts back into the flow with the larger parts, so that we don't have any downtime, any waiting on the tumblers to finish, and it's also really good quality for as small as the parts are.
Yeah.
We were actually really surprised with how good it did, not one side but both sides. In one pass, we could set the bucket at the back end, feed the parts in the front, and they come out stacked up in the bucket, ready to go. It's huge for us.
Tell me about the consumable life on the sand block belts. What kind of hours do you get? Lissmac recommends that you should be getting from 300 hours to 500 hours on the sand block belts. What do you guys get?
I mean, usually depending on workload and how many parts we're running through and stuff like that, we average no less than 400 hours on our blocks. We have gotten more. We've actually gotten a lot more than 500. It's all about what parts you pass through,
maybe setting the
their
machine.
state, the setting of the machine. It really just comes down to taking care of the piece of equipment, monitoring the belts, making sure that nothing is damaging them. Sometimes if you try to put a part smaller than you should in there, it can kick out to the side and the belts will sit there and wear on it. And that causes increased wear really fast. But when we just run plates, normal production, you know, we get well over 500 hours out of those belts, and we really kind of change them when we know it's getting close, but not when it's needed. You know, you can run those belts down to almost nothing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really good life out of those blocks.
Cool. Brett, I'd like to thank you and your time that you've spent with us to give us your testimonial and how to get the Lissmac Edge for other customers that are looking into this process. Laitram's been a great partner with us, and we really value your business.
Laitram would like to thank Lissmac, and I'm sure some of the guys out on the shop floor would give you a hug if you walked out there right now, because they've hugged us, you know, once we bought that machine. It's made their lives much easier, made their job much easier, made it much faster. It's better for production. It helps with team morale. You know, if they're not dealing with issues, not sitting there doing all this craziness every day, you know, it really makes a difference in the shop. It helps us maintain our culture of high efficiency, precision sheet metal shop, and you know, there isn't another machine we can do it with.
Cool.